Hey, welcome to the episode. Today we have a conversation with Sterling Jones, founder and CEO of JoJo's Chocolate. Enjoy.
So you grew up in Arizona.
I sure
and then
did.
You moved to Utah for college?
Yeah, for college.
Okay.
Yeah, went to Mesa Mountain View. Then did 1 year of community college down in Arizona. That's the only reason I got accepted into BYU. Did a two-year mission for my church, and then went to BYU. So
That's awesome.
I actually started down the finance route at BYU.
No way.
I had taken an intro to entrepreneurship class, and it just changed my entire.
Who taught it?
John Richards.
Okay.
Yeah, just
Oh, yeah.
changed my life.
That's
It
awesome.
was. I remember sitting there next to one of my buddies, and the whole time I was like, "Are you feeling this? Are you getting this?" And he was like, "No, dude, no." And I was like, "Okay, that means this is for me. It's speaking to me, right?" And so that's what changed my path, because I got into the finance program, and then shortly after, being in there for probably 1 week, I was like, "Oh no!" For me, I just was not the right path, and so.
yeah.
I remember sitting there, and the ad drop deadline passed the date did. I'm sitting there midnight, and so I missed that, and I had to go to the admissions office the next day and write a petition to let me withdraw without getting a W on my transcript.
Oh, yeah.
And the lady's like, "They don't let you do that. What are you doing?" I'm like, "No, I need to, please." And so I submitted that. A few days later, they let me switch out. So did the entrepreneurship program at BYU, and
Awesome.
at the time when I switched, we didn't have JoJo's yet. So we hadn't even started. It just was I knew I wanted to do something, and
That's cool.
kind of just took that leap of faith.
Yeah, that's awesome. I know I did the entrepreneurship program
Did
at
you?
BYU, but they
Awesome.
always talk about you you're there. There's a few of them, but JoJo's,
Yeah.
they're always they started in the, but maybe they
But
didn't.
to be
do
fair,
they
mention-
BYU's got
claim you.
a lot of really great
They
ones
have,
like you.
yes,
do.
but
They
they
do.
do love
They've
to
done
claim JoJo's.
Oh,
so
yeah,
just
for sure.
know
They can
you're-
claim it as
you're
long
up
as
there.
they mention that they didn't accept me for the business model competition. I applied for that 3 times.
Wow.
The third time they finally I think let me go past first round because they felt bad for me. So.
Oh, yeah.
But
I've been
no,
there.
I a lot of credit there for.
It's
great,
good to remember
great
those
program.
ones.
Yeah.
They're awesome.
Send them a JoJo's now. Tell them to go
So
buy it at
you went
Costco.
through the program. You
did.
didn't have JoJo's yet.
When I switched into, I didn't. But then my 6 months later, my
Okay.
mom came up with the idea, and I was like, "Oh, let's do it." And so then, luckily, half of my junior year and all of my senior year, kind of all my projects and things
Yeah,
like that,
that's
it was JoJo's.
awesome.
Yeah, so it started shortly after I switched in the program.
Okay, that's cool. So you said your mom is her
Yes.
name JoJo's. Does that work?
Her name is Jody Jones. She was
Jody
called
Jones.
Aunt JoJo, and so
That's so cute.
Yeah, so she made the first batch, and she was actually battling cancer, and that's the whole reason for the brand and the reason for the product was she was trying to cut out sugar, but loved chocolate, right? My
Yeah.
family, we are chocoholics
Yeah,
through and
me
through.
too.
I didn't even know there was a vanilla Frosty at Wendy's until I married my wife. I was like, who would ever buy
Yeah,
vanilla?
that's garbage. Throw that.
So anyways, so I just true chocoholic. She loved that, loved chocolate, but knew she needed to cut out sugar and needed to eat less of it while she was going through cancer. Sugar is one of the worst things you can eat while battling cancer. And so became her snack. It just was a daily snack, helped satisfy that craving. She didn't feel guilty about it. It was clean ingredients. And it really became every day she'd go 3 p.m., 8 p.m., have a little bite. And so after she was making that, I came home for the summer from BYU and was like, "Mom, this is so good." And I really started the company for 2 reasons. I wanted to share, kind of spread my mom, spread her love is really what we say often. We say spread love, the way she lived, which was love, optimism, faith, fight, and fun is really the best way to describe her. She just was an incredible woman. Truly my hero. And so that was the main reason for starting the brand. And the second was I realized she's not the only one trying to consume less sugar. Americans consume over 70 grams sugar a day. The recommended amount's around 30. So our vision is reducing America's sugar intake by 50%. So
Unfortunately, I think I tipped that scale a little bit high. I think the average would be a little bit lower in the U.S. if it wasn't for me. In my opinion.
Utah contributes to
Which
that.
is why Jeremy hadn't heard of your brand. It was his wife.
Yes.
Yes. and
Because
she-
Jen is the one that keeps you going.
So the crazy thing is
Thank you, Jen.
I didn't know the brand name, but I absolutely knew the package because she keeps it in our bathroom. And she hides it from our kids. It's in the big green one.
No way.
And then at nighttime, she'll come and she'll break a bar off
Yes.
for me and throw it to her. She's been doing that for 5-7 years.
No
and you
way.
had no idea.
I had
you
no
were
idea what the
eating.
brand was. I'm like, okay, give me the chocolate.
That is incredible.
So she met,
Tell her
I guess
thank
it would
you.
have been you. So down at a Whole Foods snack. By the way, she died. that you're coming on today.
Oh,
It was
thank
like
you.
it was
She's
a really
nice.
big deal. She doesn't get psyched about a lot of products, but she's a big.
You should
big
have brought
consumer.
her.
I know.
Oh, I'd love
But,
to.
Would've
but
loved
anyway,
it.
she they were handing out samples. You mentioned it was actually you.
Yeah.
Down at Whole Foods, like 20 South or whatever that is, and now she's like, and we buy them all the time at Costco, and we just have, and she does. So yeah, the guys might not know the brand name, but every woman knows the brand name.
It's a common theme. You even said it.
Yeah.
My mom loves it, right? That's a common theme.
Yeah.
Either my mom or my wife is usually a very, very common theme that we hear often.
Well, and that's probably a good market to target because we're the money spenders, right? We like to buy the stuff at the
That's very
stores.
Oh yeah.
So, anyways, that's awesome. So, how long before you guys like had an official product with like packaging and branding, and like how did that start? What did that look like for
Yeah.
you? Because as a college kid, I wouldn't have ever known where to even start.
Totally. Google was my best friend.
Yeah.
And it started very ugly. Let's just say that. Where it started was me and my mom making a label on Word document. The very first, even before sampling Whole Foods, was we did a CrossFit competition up here in Utah. So my mom flew up for the weekend. It was Friday, Saturday. We made little cellophane bags. And at that time it was kind of chocolate bark because she would just make it on a cookie sheet, break it, and put it in this little cellophane bag with a sticker on it. And we just sampled it at a CrossFit event. I don't know how we sold anything because it really was not pretty. Now, luckily the product was pretty, but the
product
packaging
was
was
good, yeah.
not.
Were you
So,
sampling at the?
we were sampling.
Okay.
So that's what sold it.
Yeah,
people
people
tried
gotta
it.
taste
Yes,
it.
exactly. So,
yeah.
I mean, truly though, at the beginning, like really knew nothing about retail. I knew nothing about product development. And as much as I'd like to think I am a good designer, I'm not. So it was not very pretty, but I just knew I needed to try. I just needed to start. And so kind of my motto from day one was just start. Like every day, okay,
for you.
start a label, start trying to packaging. And so after a few months of doing some events like CrossFit, farmers markets, I was like, okay, people really like this. I mean, our first event, we sold out. People loved it. And so I realized we were fitting a need, not a protein bar, not a candy bar, the perfect in between. I just need a little chocolate fix. Don't want to feel guilty about it. And so from there, I actually took out a BYU student loan, which is not for buying packaging, but that's what I used it for. But luckily we got on Amazon. I was like, okay, I'll be able to pay this back. Like we're selling on Amazon, started seeing some repeat purchases. We had great reviews on Amazon. I was like, okay, I think I'll be able to pay this back. So, and then we did a little, we worked with a small little agency and they did a little mock-up of packaging and we ran with that first. And we have come a long way since then. It was a craft and it was did not pop on shelf at all, but we didn't know that. We were selling on Amazon and, you can get away with packaging doesn't pop off shelf because it's a digital image, right?
Totally.
So anyways, that's how we got started. Was Amazon was really the first place where we saw consistent traction, great reviews, and we were able to take those reviews to retail buyers and say, hey, like, look, we've got hundreds of reviews. People say they love this.
Yep.
It's not 10 reviews of my mom and my sisters, leaving
it's
reviews.
the
Some
real
of them
deal.
probably were.
Oh,
right?
absolutely. The first 20 was
Yeah,
my
yeah, that's
neighbor,
right. You
my
spiel.
wife.
All your Instagram followers.
Yes, 100%. It
Free
would-
package if you buy a
we
package.
still may even do that often. with a new
Yes, yeah.
product.
You have to.
You don't need it now.
Luckily, it's the audience has grown significantly.
So you took your Amazon reviews and you feel like that was kind of your like anchor to those buyers of like, this is why you need our product.
Definitely helped. It
Okay.
absolutely helped. We took that because we didn't have anything else. Like we didn't have any sales data to show it's working anywhere else. So we could take those and then actually at the time, my mom was still in Arizona, right? So we were local to Arizona. So I reached out to Sprouts and said, hey, local brand, can I come present? And I don't know why, but it was the VP of merchandising got back to me.
No way.
And I was living in Seattle for the summer and he said, yeah, come tomorrow. And I was like, oh no.
I'm not ready for
I
this.
meant local, but I didn't mean I was there. So I flew down the next morning,
Wow.
met with him and the candy buyer. So I meet with him and he was just going to do like a local Arizona event. And he's like, could you do bigger? This is great product.
Wow.
And I said yes, even though we couldn't support that. But I said, yeah, sure, let's do it. I'll figure it out. He brought in the candy buyer. Candy buyer takes one bite, throws it away, and says, good, and walks out. And I just my stomach sunk. I was like, oh my gosh, he hated it. And then the VP goes, that was glowing praise from him.
No,
Yeah.
as good as it gets. You better like
He
it.
throws it away, but that
Threw away,
was
but he
praise.
loved it
Oh my
because
gosh.
like the guy just Wasn't a
He
man of,
sampled a million things.
He's probably
yes,
tried it all.
Wasn't a man of
Yeah.
many words, but
Yeah.
if you got a good from him, that
an A
was
plus.
yeah. And so then they took us nationwide. So we launched in
Unbelievable.
Sprouts nationwide because we really fit that gap. We
Yeah.
were definitely we were right when like pouched items was coming out, kind of the snacking chocolate. So it was perfect timing. It would fit a need for Sprouts, and so they gave us a chance, and so we rolled out nationwide. So that was, and at the exact same time we got into Whole Foods, the local,
yeah.
just the four the 4 Whole Foods in Utah.
So what was like when you first started, your goal, like your dream retail store, you wanted to see your products on the shelf?
It was Costco.
It
for
was
me. Yeah,
Costco.
I just
Okay.
have always felt like we are such a perfect Costco item because we do well with bulk, and in Costco you're buying more. It obviously helps us from a pricing standpoint.
Yeah.
And JoJo's is meant to be a daily snack. It's not a weekend indulgence. It's not, when you need to eat your cheesecake, it's, hey, I just need a snack every day. I need a bite of chocolate. And so Costco kind of fits that, where it becomes something they buy every week or every other week when they're in Costco, right? And so Costco's always been my number one. And we are very fortunate we got in there fairly early in the typical retail growth cycle.
So you started with like Whole Foods, Sprouts. How did that transition to Costco?
Yeah, it was a good year and a half in the making. So we had Whole Foods, we had Sprouts, we had all the Amazon reviews, and that was kind of it, And so then there was actually a brand that was going up to Northwest. I was like, hey, do you want to come with us? And so I went up there and met with it was the wrong buyer, but they were like, they were in, I think, hardware or I can't remember, but they're like, oh, we'll get you to the right buyer. So after that meeting, the buyer connected me to the correct buyer. Then a mentor of mine connected me with his broker that he had used for, speaking of BYU entrepreneurship, going back a second, did you take it from Corbin Church?
So I never took his class, but I
Oh.
went with my friend for
Okay.
fun.
So that's who.
And I loved it. And
He's
I was
incredible.
like, I have to switch my major. So he was never my teacher, but I went to his class every week for fun.
He's
No
amazing.
way.
Who does that?
Yeah.
But
I start
yes,
going to that.
Because it's
he's-
Corbin.
He's great. So he
He's-
helped you.
He was the mentor
That's
that I reached
awesome.
out to, and he's like, hey, I've had this broker that I used, 10 years ago, and she's still in the industry. So her and I made a pitch deck, and I remember going up for the first meeting. We go up, and the lady says, I can't do any bark. Can't do any more bark. Because at the time we called it chocolate bark. Because initially my mom was making it that way. And I said, that's okay. It doesn't have to be
Backtrack,
called.
change
It
the
doesn't.
business plan.
Do you want a bar?
Yeah, I know.
What
It
do you
doesn't have
want?
to be bark.
We'll do anything.
And that's the thing. Costco loves that, right? Costco loves feeling like they were a part of that innovation, right?
right, yeah.
Totally.
Because I remember that buyer also said, what are those little candies called? She goes, yeah, I created High Chews. And it was literally like she created High Chews.
No way.
Meaning like she launched it, right? I mean, the brand had existed, but she really
Right.
was like, that's where she
Yeah,
got to hang her
that's
hat on because she was the reason it was nationwide. So they like brands or products that they can feel like,
A little ownership.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Right? I
Well, that's the thing.
That's how
I
they're.
was talking to a Costco buyer the other day, Johnny Sanchez, and he was saying the same thing. Costco's the buyers want to know. They want a product that they can hang their hat on.
Absolutely.
They want to be like, this is the brand that I discovered, right?
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
for her, now she's got 2 of them.
Totally. Yeah, fortunately. And so, I mean, you're also helping them be successful, right? Your product, that's how they're graded,
They're
right?
great about that. Like they
Yeah.
kind of try and help both parties
Totally.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
benefit.
Yeah, so we pitched to her. She said, I don't want bark. So I said, well, hey, we actually called it bark because that's how it's made, but now we're actually putting it in. It was actually in a bar format. So we were already molding it. So I said, we can remove the name
bars.
bark. Yeah, so we actually called it guilt-free chocolate because my mom always referred to it as like, oh, it's my guilt-free snack, right?
Yeah.
So went back, made new packaging, called it guilt-free chocolate. I think we went back like 4 months later, got another meeting, and she's like, oh, I love it. Okay, we'll do it. It was on my birthday. I was so stoked. It was April 25th. I walk out of that meeting thinking, oh my gosh, we are getting into Costco. We follow up a week later, and she says, hey, I'm getting moved from the
Oh,
desk.
no.
I'm no longer the buyer, so
Buyer
follow up
flipped
with the
over.
new.
Good luck.
Email the new
And your
buyer,
heart sank.
and he goes, I'm not looking at anything new for 6 months, right? Because he's got to get situated. He's got to
Yep.
get all this
He's
stuff.
got- Yep.
Stop what you're doing right now and take a look at your wrist. Is the watch you're wearing a reflection of who you are? Does your smartwatch scream, "I'm a badass that works hard and plays even harder"? If not, then do yourself a favor and head over to rockwelltime.com. There you can find the watch or sunglasses that lets the world know what you wear on your head or wrist does not define you, but it could. The guys at Rockwell Time are kind enough to offer listeners a discount, so use code WARGAMES30 for 30% off your purchase. rockwelltime.com, live unrivaled.
And I was just like, no. But honestly, looking back now, huge blessing in disguise, because we really were not probably ready at the facility we were at. It gave us 6 months to move to a
Give you
new,
good
new
direction on
location.
what to be doing for the
Totally.
next 6 months.
And so then it was actually a full year later, got in. So went back to him in January. He's like, okay, we'll give it a chance. We'll give you 15 buildings and we'll do a test. We got really lucky because we didn't start with road shows. We actually jumped straight into a 15
line. Wow, that
in
doesn't
line,
happen often.
15 wheel warehouses out of the gate. Luckily, 8 of those were Utah, and we just blew it up and just
way.
absolutely crushed it. And so it went from 15 to 30 to we have a product nationwide in Costco.
Unbelievable.
So it's been a heck of a journey.
Congrats.
Thank you.
That's
Yeah.
amazing.
Appreciate it. Yeah, the other day I was like, man, this is we're fortunate. We've got every region interested. And then I kind of paused and thought, well, that is 6 years in the works.
Yes.
I mean, it was 2018 when we first got in. So coming
what's
up on
deemed
6 years.
What's deemed good turnover at Costco for your category?
I think it kind of depends, but usually kind of a threshold is like, hey, you got to be $1,000 per building, right? It's kind of the number that they throw out there. I think that's across a lot of categories.
Per what?
Per week.
Per week.
Per building per week is typically like, hey, that's the number, and it doesn't mean you're guaranteed to stay in.
Yeah.
It just for them is like, oh, that is a successful item.
What other stores is JoJo's in right now?
So rolling out with Target, and we have about 600 locations right now, rolling out into 1,100
No
in June.
way.
So Target would be there tied with Costco.
Yeah.
I mean, they are obviously just an incredible retailer. Really fits our brand too. I think
Oh, it
that's
does.
also
Totally.
what matters for us.
Yes.
Is like Walmart's obviously the large retailers, so you want to be in there, but Target really fits our brand. So Target is next on the list. We're in Sprouts nationwide.
Yeah.
We currently only have Whole Foods in Rocky Mountain region, but we're doing really well. So hopefully some more expansion coming. Whole Foods is quite a long sales cycle. I mean, they're meeting in, I think, August for next April. So
Yeah.
it's quite a long
You're a
one.
fascinating line because you not only fit into the low-hanging fruit, which is natural grocery.
Yeah.
You also fit into specialty grocery, and you also fit into traditional grocery.
Yeah.
See, I mean, you could go like you're talking about. You're literally a mass product
Yep.
that came out of specialty grocery, and that doesn't happen often. That's like the Burt's Bees, right? It doesn't happen a ton. That is unbelievable.
Yeah, it fits well. I mean, we're dark chocolate, we're low sugar, we're added protein, but before all of that, it's great tasting chocolate. And that's something as a brand we've also had to realize is too often we get too focused on, hey, it's low sugar, there's added protein, and we are leading now with, hey, it's delicious chocolate. At the end of the day, I mean, for
It
the longest
is.
time you were snacking on it.
I was
you
not,
didn't
no
know the
idea what I was
nutrition
eating.
facts.
Just give me another bar, half of a bar. Here we go.
You didn't know that it was low sugar
I had
or
no
that it had
clue.
protein or that
No.
yeah. So I mean that's what we're realizing with JoJo's is we need, it satisfies because it tastes
You
great.
don't know how many episodes of Survivor I've watched eating JoJo's chocolate.
Yes. I love it.
Jeremy's your number one customer, and you
Yeah, and I
had
didn't
no
even know
idea.
it. Oh,
Thank you, Jeremy.
That's funny.
These are some new SKUs here, well, at least to me. Tell
We
me
do.
what you've got
Yeah,
here.
so we just launched a brand new chocolate covered pretzel. I mean, all
Yum.
growing up, my favorite thing was
Those are the
flips,
best.
right?
Yep.
Every road trip snacking on flips. And so
Oh, yeah.
I wanted to make a gluten-free version, better for you, low sugar, dark chocolate. So that's what came out here, launched in Whole Foods, and quickly became our number one item. It's just
No
it's something that
way.
people are familiar with, right?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that's a lot of what the brands you see now in the better for you space that do well are the ones that are just like something else you've eaten your whole life, but made better for you.
Yeah.
So that's why these
That's
pretzels
cool.
did super well. This is a peanut butter peanut butter flavor. This one is the one that we just launched nationwide in Costco.
No way.
So we have been in the Northwest and Southeast and LA, but the entire country took this item. So got a creamy peanut butter in the middle.
No way.
It's only 6 grams of sugar. Your other peanut butter cups are 24 grams of sugar. So it's an incredible nutritional profile, but most importantly,
You
it
almost
tastes
eat that
good.
whole bag for what it'd be like for one Reese's
Right?
cup.
Exactly.
That is crazy.
Yep.
So,
cool.
who's been the favorite retailer, the easiest to work with retailer you've worked with?
Am I okay to say that on here?
Yeah,
I don't want someone to offend any other retailers, you know?
No. We're just who's a really nice buyer. that needs a product.
We've been really fortunate, truly, to work with like great buyers.
Yeah.
Sprouts has been so supportive since day one.
Yeah,
you know,
very
they're
early
really
on.
trying to lead the charge on innovation.
Yeah.
So
They do a
for
really
us,
good job with it too. Like I think that's honestly where my mom first saw your product was in Sprouts.
Yeah.
But people kind of go to Sprouts to find those new,
Oh, they do.
healthier. Like it's just the feel of the store.
It does.
So that's
Yeah,
good
if
to
there's
know.
a
They're
new
easy to
product
work
coming
with.
out, yeah, they've been awesome.
Yeah.
It seems like if there's a new, healthier product you hear about, a lot of times you can find it in Sprouts.
Yeah.
So they've been really good. Costco's been great. Our main buyer's been Northwest, and now we're talking to all of them, and they've all been really good. They are very good at what they do, right?
Oh,
They
yeah.
make sure their members get the best value. I was
They're
talking to
very
somebody.
smart buyers.
Yeah, I was talking to a fellow team member, and just like, man, we're already giving them such a great value. Why are they even asking for more? And and her comment was the members don't even check the price because they just, it's in that snack area, I'll just grab it.
Yeah.
And my comment was, that's because members trust the buyers, because the buyers do so well at their job, right? They
Absolutely
have
true.
to, because if you lose that members' trust, it's over, right? So the members don't even check.
And they're probably only marking that up 12% anyway.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
They're like,
It's
they
like
are so
stealing every
efficient.
time you go there.
Yeah.
I went and ordered one of those pizzas recently out of there. Oh my gosh, $9.99. That fed my whole family.
Yeah, I know.
I was like, what is this, like 1986? It was like,
It's
I couldn't
unbelievable.
believe it.
Yeah. I mean, didn't the CEO say you'd have to kill him before you raise that hot dog price from $1.50?
I know.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. So they've been really good. Yeah, like I said, we've been really fortunate. The Whole Foods buyer actually helped us really bring this pretzel item to life.
Cool.
She's no longer the buyer, so there's a new buyer, but she really helped us bring this item to life.
What does that transition look like when the buyers switch over? Is it hard?
Yeah, it's always, sometimes you hope maybe there's a chance you knew him from, fortunately this new buyer in Whole Foods, like our director of sales knew her from ice cream previously.
Oh, cool.
So that's when you get really lucky.
That is
But it
Yeah.
is definitely a transition because they just got to keep the boat alive, right? Got to keep the ship afloat. But then they also are starting to look at like, okay, what can I have be my product? Right, because they don't want to just inherit. It's like when a new coach comes in; he wants his new players, right?
That's right.
And so now he's got to take care of the current players because he can't lose them all. And so that's kind of, I feel like, the similar example is take care of what they have, but then start looking for something they can call their own.
I think a lot of people don't realize, a lot of brands don't realize how much of the buyer's time is actually just managing the brands that they already have, right?
Yeah.
Their account management.
Totally.
And it's not all just purchasing new products all day long, right?
Right. It
There's
can't
only
be.
a few products that flip over per category per year, and so they're really smart on which ones they're going to bring on.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's their job, right? Making sure that when you go to Costco, there's actually JoJo's on the shelf, right?
I've been thinking about that a lot, like the retail buyers.
Yeah.
And, for the longest time, I'm like, why won't they give JoJo's a chance? Why won't they give us a chance?
Yeah.
But I mean, it's a big risk for them, right? Because they
very big risk.
could leave the product that they have on shelf
Yeah.
and know exactly what the sales are going to be, or say, okay, I'll give this an item a try and don't know if it's going to be even their bottom item, right?
So does this fall under snacks for
Technically in the chocolate category.
chocolate?
Yeah.
So I mean, because they're probably managing $1 billion business in Costco. I mean, I think about that. It's
know.
crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy. And then you look at like conventional, like Kroger, right, or Smith's
Oh, yeah.
here in Utah. I mean, their chocolate category is huge, and natural, better for you is such a small segment of it.
Yes.
So for them to give us attention, I get it. I get why it's like, well, we're just gonna focus on, we know Hershey's and Reese's and Snickers sell.
Yep.
It keeps their job, right?
Yep.
So that's where you've got to break through the noise because they just want to keep their job, right? And keep sales. They don't want to go decline. And so it's hard for them to take risks.
It's pretty amazing that you broke through. There's only, 25 or so big national chocolate companies in the United States. And Mr. Beast is launching his. And,
Yeah, he did pretty well.
Yeah. Hey, sorry for this brief stop. I want to talk a little bit about our sponsor, Volcanic Retail. Volcanic Retail is a B2B platform specifically made between retail brands and retail buyers. Where you can quickly organize, use our predictive analytics and computer learning, be matched up with the right retailers that have the exact same specs that you're looking for. Go register at volcanicrietail.com. Let's get back in and listen to the rest of the episode. How on earth did you do it? Because there's there's probably, if you go to Expo West this year, I mean, there's
But you were there, right?
We actually
Oh,
didn't go
you
this
didn't
year.
go.
Yeah, we didn't go this year. I'm following a similar Kodiak Cakes model. He took a couple years off and then came back and made some serious noise. So that's our plan.
Even bigger. So
Oh,
you're
smart.
going like
It took a
off
couple
the
years
grid
off.
a little
Yeah.
bit.
We'll
Okay.
come back.
that's smart going
Okay.
underneath.
Want to do it and do it
You're
right.
going dark.
Yeah.
Do you rely much on influencers or?
We did for a while.
You
Yeah.
did?
You know, tricky thing for us is influencers. For this item, D2C is tricky because you're just so used to buying chocolate in a grocery store,
Yeah.
right? And just subconsciously like, oh, it might melt, or I'll just get it at my next store.
right.
So it was hard to track influencers. And frankly, our margins are thin. And so to pay influencers, you know, $1,000, like, you got to sell a lot of bags of chocolate. And so that's the tricky thing. It's just we've realized that our best dollars are being spent in the store, as close to the purchase decision as possible. So whether that's a promotion on the shelf, whether it's an ad in the store, whether it's sampling. So as close to the purchase decision as possible is where we're getting the best return, you know, right now.
Oh yeah. So tell me a little bit more about your goals for JoJo's going forward.
Yeah. The big vision is building out what I like to call a JoJo's kitchen. You know, it's bringing to life even more that
More
what my mom
categories.
created. So baking would be one that I'd love to
Yeah.
get into. A simple one is chocolate chips for us, right? Like we
That
already.
would be cool.
Yeah.
Oh,
and-
That
you
would
do
be
have
cool.
chocolate.
well,
chips.
we currently, I mean, that's how our chocolate comes, right? And then we make it into bars.
Oh,
So it's
okay.
a simple
Cacao.
process. Yeah. So we have chocolate chips, but we're making it into bars.
Do
So
you source like where the cacao actually comes from?
we are, yeah, we're particular on right now. Our blend is Ecuador and Ivory Coast.
Oh,
just
no
the flavor
way.
profile we
Cool.
want. It's then made in Germany. Germany's process of chocolate making is incredible. I mean, if you ever had European, Swiss, you know, Belgium, if you had European chocolate, you just know it's a step up. So we actually bring in German chocolate, and then our bars and everything, the product itself is actually made in Canada right now.
No
so
way.
we're in a Vancouver factory there.
So when did you make the switch from your own house to?
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure there's an intermediate step there before you went up to the big one in Canada.
Yes,
What-
yeah.
Where did you go then?
So Mom's Kitchen for a year. We got a little KSL article here in Utah, and I remember calling my mom. I saw the article. I was like, "Oh, Mom, cool, we got an article." And then I checked our website like an hour later, and we had 100 orders. And for us at the time, it was like, how on earth are we going to do that? We were making it in Arizona, literally 115 degrees, right? And
I was gonna say, how did you
It
store
was-
all of this?
Oh my gosh, that was unbelievable. I'm backtracking for a second. So the story was we get the orders. I drive down because I was in Utah. I was at BYU. I was like, drive down for the day, like next day to help my mom. Make it all day. We get these little styrofoam boxes and ice. And then we waited, and I found a USPS that stayed open until 9:30. And so I was like, okay, we can throw it on the truck. It'll only be in Arizona for an hour. He'll go straight to the airplane. So we cool down the car for half an hour, right? Turn on the car 8:30, jump in at 9, drive to the post office, throw it on the truck as it's heading to the airport at 9:30, and it gets out of there. And we're like, this is probably not very scalable. But it was just so fun. I remember my dad being like, what are you guys doing?
Our max capacity is 120 orders.
Yeah. So that only lasted for a year. We actually found a little chocolate factory up in North Salt Lake called Miss Kavanaugh's.
Oh,
They kind of
yes.
did us a favor for a year where they would make us a batch. We'd go pick it up. Then we got an Idaho factory that was a step up where they would order everything, make everything, package and ship. And then came back to another facility here in Utah that they were kind of the next step up where much larger quantity. But then once we got in those 15 Costco's and we started looking at, okay, what does 30, 100, and now 550 Costco's look like? We kind of showed them those projections and just knew it wasn't gonna be able to keep up. So this Canada factories, they are incredible. Truly like a real partner. It's maybe a little bit of our secret sauce. They're great.
So we've augmented the sales for some really successful chocolate companies like True Fru and
Love True Fru.
Sconza and DeBrand.
Yeah.
What before you started JoJo's, random question: who is your favorite chocolate company?
Great question.
What was your favorite chocolate bar?
I ate a lot of Lindt. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
oh,
love
yeah.
Lindt. And kind of during my mom's cancer journey, she switched to all dark chocolate. It just, it was crazy. Every cancer book she read, the recommended snack was an ounce of dark chocolate a day because it's more satisfying. You've got some antioxidants, right, from the dark chocolate. And doesn't have the milk. And so I ate a lot of Lindt. Growing up, it was the classic Crunch Bar and Reese's.
I have this specialty bar that I always go and I buy at Taste, and it's from Iceland, and it's got like nuts in it, has a lot of salt on it. Unbelievable.
A nut roll? Is it a nut roll?
It actually might not be chocolate. I don't remember.
Yeah, Iceland. That's good chocolate.
So is
over
it still kind of a family-run business?
Yeah, no, not
As far
it's
as
not.
leaders go, yeah.
So we raised
And
the
outgrew
money with a local, the local to Utah, but large investment group here in Utah. Raised money with them back in 2019, which is actually the year my mom was diagnosed with cancer. Was 2012. Came back in 2019, unfortunately, and she battled that year. And it was fun because she got to see us raise money. You know, for the previous 5 years, she's like, "Are we ever gonna make money? You ever gonna
She was
pay
able to see
yourself?"
that.
And she was able to see us raise.
That's
so we
beautiful.
raised. You know, the first round was $3 million raised, and it was cool. It was really cool for
What
her to see
VC
that.
firms did you work with?
Peterson Partners here in
Oh,
Utah.
that's
They're
awesome.
phenomenal.
Yeah,
been a
they
great
specialize in consumer products.
Yeah, they've got consumer, they've got tech, they've kind of do a
They've
wide
got it
range.
all.
They do.
Great-
yeah, and they
great
have
partners.
3 different funds, right? They've got growth, search, and venture. And
That's
so
right.
they've
Did you do another
private
round with
equity.
them, or what ended up
We
happening?
did, yeah. So we've done 2 follow-on rounds since then, and
Oh,
we're
good for you.
technically a part of their search fund. And great guys there, great people, and so been very supportive. You know, they've brought in great board members and things like that have helped us significantly.
Yeah, I think a lot of brands don't realize that with all the VC firms that are in each state, a lot of them are tech firms. Most of them are, do tech.
Oh, especially
But-
here in Utah.
Especially in Utah,
Yeah.
with Silicon Slopes. But there's some strong ones that specialize in CPG.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Kickstart is another one that does really well. Even like Album, who typically doesn't do a ton on the product side, has done stuff like Stance and Skull Candy and others. But
I think you and I need to start a food one though.
Done.
Let's
Me
do
and
it.
you.
Yes, do it right now.
I'm gonna be so big.
There's so many good food products in Utah now.
There really are.
Throw in supplements too, right?
So who's a brand to watch?
Well, my favorite brand was Kodiak Cakes for the longest time. I mean, just in terms
done-
of like a brand that I look to,
Yes.
just aspire to be like. I am fortunate to know Joel. He's been a great mentor and
Done a
just
great
so.
job.
Yeah, incredible story. So that's my dream, right? To build something like Kodiak did. Brands to watch coming up. I mean, I don't even consider them to watch, but I mean, Just Ingredients here in Utah has done an incredible job.
yeah.
I'm a huge fan of her. She's just everything she stands for. I'm just such a believer in. I
Yeah.
love, I believe food is medicine, and we are what we eat. And she's just doing such a good job and doing it in such a relatable way to people.
Yeah.
So I think that's why she's having so
She's
much
kind of,
success.
she very interesting. Just basically, she was the in-house professor of natural foods before she actually created her own stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
It's a pretty interesting story. Mm-hmm. But yeah, there really are. There's some great brands.
Another,
True Food's been fun.
True Food is incredible. I mean, their story, their success story is truly
So here's
inspirational.
some bad news about True Fruit. I went and I used to eat them all the time, and I would eat a whole bag at a time. Like, this is just amazing. And then I looked at the back, and the serving size was 4 pieces.
Yeah.
I was just thinking it was the whole bag. I was like, this stuff is so good, and it's so healthy.
they get you because it's real fruit, right?
Yeah, you
so you're
think
like,
it's
it's real
Yes.
fruit, you know.
And it is amazing.
It is
and I am
good,
addicted
but
to
that
it.
serving size,
Yeah.
you got to watch for the serving size.
Yeah, I get you.
There's a few more than one serving in that bag. Yeah, you know, a small brand that I love is Kelsey's Kitchen. It's a fudge chocolate
Oh,
in the
awesome.
refrigerated section. They're a brand that
Do you know
most
what
people,
stores?
here in Utah, it's just kind of local. Harmon's, your Good Earth, something like that. So
Yeah.
I know they're just getting started, but that's a fun
Okay, I'm gonna
product that I
watch
love.
that one.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
What is one thing that you feel like JoJo's is doing really well? Like you guys are nailing it.
I'd say, good question. From a product standpoint, we've really hit on the satiety, that factor that a lot of chocolate products can't say, that they truly deliver on being satisfied. Like you said earlier, I had half a bar and I'm good. So the product standpoint, the flavor, the taste, that we've really done, and credit to my mom. You would have thought she was a food scientist, but she wasn't.
Yeah.
She really delivered an incredible product. So then on top of that, I'd say what we've done well with that is I'll go back to Costco right now because it's top of mind. We've done a great job at getting the product in consumers' hands and mouth. And that's why Costco's works so well for us, because it's a product you actually want to sample.
That's
you
right,
know,
you do.
it's one that you want to get people to try. And so we've done a great job at getting people to try it. And that's because of the product taste.
That's awesome. What is your tactics with like now social media? Like that's a different ball game than
Totally.
retail stores. So how do you kind of work both in favor of your brand?
You know, it's something we're even frankly like analyzing right now to see what is the value of social media, how to use it most effectively. Because for us, the reason to engage and do social media is to build a community that ultimately drives people to go buy it in store. So one, seeing like how much can you actually spend on it to make sure you're having a return, both just like people resources and any capital investment. So we use it from a standpoint of the hope is to provide value, to build a community that people resonate with our story, resonate with what I said earlier of spread love and fight sugar, so that then they become kind of our ambassadors out there.
Totally.
So yeah, really using social media from standpoint, can we drive people in a store, make them aware that we're in their stores and build a community?
What trade shows have you had the most success with that are both, B2B trade shows like, Expo West or Expo East, or direct-to-consumer trade shows?
For us, best trade show has been Sweets and Snacks.
Sweets and Snacks.
That's our best one because there's Expo West, right, that everybody talks about, and it's such a fun show and it's wild. But for us, like not every one of our buyers actually goes to that show because it's natural products, right?
That's
and
right.
so our buyers care about
Sweets and
Sweets and Snacks. It's where's the candy, right?
Yep.
And they're buying, and the interesting is our buyers are buying both Hershey's and JoJo's. So there's not just a natural chocolate buyer. He or she is buying both.
Yeah.
So that's why Sweets and Snacks works with well for us, because we know our buyers there. We've done a couple ECRM events. Those are not cheap. So I would be very selective on those.
Those are pricey.
Very, very selective on those. But surprisingly, we met some, one of our mottos is get out there. Like the more you are out there, the more likely you're going to meet somebody and run into somebody and have something. I feel like every time I get out there, something good comes from it.
ECRM events have been kind of fascinating. I've probably done it for 8 or 9 brands. And every time I go, I look at my schedule. I'm like, oh my gosh, I've got 60 appointments with big retail brands or retail buyers. And probably, without question, probably on average, 70% of them say that they're interested when you're there. You think you're going to land all these people. And then a month goes by, and you'll be lucky if you still have one conversation still going.
Totally.
That's the ECRM experience.
Absolutely.
But they've done a great job, obviously, at least getting buyers in a room.
Yeah.
And if not like finalizing the contracts, they do a good job at least setting up the relationships.
Yeah. And something I found out, like, it is very rare, and it depends on your product, right? But very rare that the first introduction you get into a buyer is a yes to a purchase order to product on shelf.
Yeah.
Right? Like it's kind of like getting a conversion on a website. Like the person's got to see you 7-8 times now,
That's right.
I think it's the same thing with buyers. Like they want to see, hey, in a year, is this brand still alive?
That's
okay, in
exactly
2
right.
years, how are they doing? Okay, now I'll give them a try.
That's
right?
exactly
And so
right.
that's something like ECRM. You got to have the budget for it, right? But for us, Thrive Market was one that came out of there.
Yes.
And now 3 years later, it's paid for itself.
Yeah, that's right.
So it depends
that's a good way to look at
depends on
something like,
how much space you have. But
That's right. It's a
Sweets
good
and
way to look
Snacks
at
has
it.
been great. But those are kind of the main ones that we've done.
We saw you guys at Pinners Conference.
Pinners was super fun. Oh
Yeah.
my gosh,
It is
what
cra-
a wild
That is
show.
It is
the
a
best.
crazy show, like
That is
especially in
unbelievable.
Utah. Like I cannot
It is standing
imagine.
room only.
There was so many people, and we tried to talk to someone at your table, but you were busy. So
Oh my gosh, I'm sorry.
No.
You should have just
Probably
we were
Oh, yeah.
kind of not being too aggressive anyways,
should have
but
been
we were just
aggressive.
browsing,
You
and
should
I
have
was
been
like, this
aggressive
is
and said hello.
awesome. So
Well,
yeah,
I'm
we
sure
saw
you
you
were
guys
absolutely packed.
at Pinners.
Pinners was fun. That one's fun because it's definitely more consumer facing,
Yeah.
right? Sweets and Snacks and Expo is more B2B, right?
Oh, yeah.
I like Pinners because you're talking to, and that's where you get great consumer feedback. We learned a lot, and you're just building that community ultimately,
With
right?
a good direct-to-consumer show, what's a good day for you or a good show for you on sales?
For D2C, more
D2C.
so. Pinners has been a great one. Here in Utah, we've done Be Healthy, we've done Pinners, and we've done FitCon. FitCon's a interesting one, good because you're talking consumers, not necessarily our target consumer.
Yeah.
Right. Pinners is absolutely our target consumer.
Yeah.
Right. So it works well.
It is your target
Yeah.
consumer. All of the shopping women
Yeah, absolutely.
who need chocolate while they're walking around Pinners because it's crazy.
Amen.
Oh,
But
man.
it's a good show. I speak to a lot of brands that, do $30,000, $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 at those shows.
It's awesome.
I'd imagine you're probably the same.
It's surprising how much product you can sell there.
Just in a few days. Unbelievable.
Well, and you can sample and they get to taste
That's
it.
the thing
And
for us. So for us, we look and go, if we break even, like it's happy for us. If we can make money while acquiring new consumers, it's a great model,
That's
right?
amazing. You can do it
So
for
for us,
Totally.
that's what it's for. It's like
Yeah.
we get the word
part of your
out,
marketing budget and
totally. But you acquire these consumers at a profit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're so cool for joining us.
No,
well, what's
thank you.
one
Appreciate it,
thing
yeah.
you guys are excited for that's coming down that you could maybe like
Yep.
Yes.
for this
should
year? What's one
keep
big
our eyes
thing
on.
coming for JoJo's?
Okay. Well, our big theme this year is definitely improving everything. So we made our peanut butter creamier inside. So that's the new
Interesting.
item in Costco. We're making our macadamia coconut. We're coming out with like a coconut
Yum.
filling with macadamia nuts on top. Arguably the best product is this seasonal. We're taking our peppermint pretzel item that we've had. Now we're putting peppermint pieces on top of this chocolate covered pretzel.
Oh, no way.
It's next level. It is so good. And so I am obviously someone that loves innovation, loves new products.
Oh, yeah.
And so I'm super excited about that. I should add, we've put together an incredible team in the last kind of 6 months. Added some really stellar, well, more than that, more last year, but that's really been exciting. So
Wow.
team and new product coming down the pipeline.
That is
That's
awesome.
awesome. Sounds like a lot of good things coming your guys' way.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you so much. It was so good to just hear your story, and we're happy for
Yeah,
JoJo's.
We'll be cheering you on.
Yes.
And eating more chocolates when we watch Survivor.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much. Pleasure to be here.
Take care.